One skill in this world beats every other. Learn it, and a whole army cannot drop you. For 1,000 years, only the sect founder had it. Then one guy broke that record. He is Lu, our main guy and the current sect master. Lu calls himself the strongest man alive. And right now he is sweating and looking to run. On a far peak, a woman charges a thunder talisman. She is the heavenly teacher, the top lightning user. Her thunder drops on him in one yellow beam. It eats the guard his 5 immortal swords gave him. The next woman walks up the night sky in red heels. Lu greets her and asks if she ate yet. She is the demon master, and golden arms open behind her. Her eye locks on him. Fall. The golden pillars slam shut around him. The sky bursts white and Lu drops head first. He lands hard enough to split the rock. His first worry is his missing robe. A girl runs across the field to the crater. She is his sister, the assistant sect master. Then she burns a sealing array into the ground. Lu reads it and knows he cannot leave. She blushes and says, "Brother stays here." A tiny girl floats in on a giant gourd. The poison master says that seal is too weak. Green light drifts up to Lu's face. The sword master says he can cancel poison himself. Thousands of blades rain into the crater. Her sword array snaps shut and pins him down. The 5 strongest after him jumped him together. The teacher asks which of them he likes. Lu goes white because now he owes them an answer. Lu, the sect master, is still boxed in by the 5 strongest women in the realm. He decides to explain what his pure unbounded yang skill actually costs him. The old scrolls of his line are blunt. Nobody on this path touches a woman. Break that rule, and it starts with vomiting blood and heavy convulsions. The worst case written down for him is straight up death. The women call it a bluff because no technique has a downside that stupid. They coo over how cute their brother looks while he is fast asleep. A mountain of love pouches sits behind him, all sent by female monks. One of them opens her robe and offers to gamble on dual cultivation. Lu throws up the rejection cross without thinking twice. The swordmaster tries next, calling it practice for her swordsmanship. Same cross, same answer, and her whole face falls apart. His sister goes third and promises to stay by his side forever. Denied as well, and the poor girl short-circuits on the spot. Lu ends up on all fours because every hot moment now costs him blood. All the good relationships he built with women have to be dropped. A sad little chick on a plate says the rest. Our guy stays a virgin forever. His power built those bonds over the years, and the women are not leaving. He begs them to act like high-class masters and go improve their sex. Mundane love between men and women is worthless, he tells them. The first to answer says nothing in her life is more serious than loving him. His sister asks how he can be this heartless after their whole childhood. Another one drops the romance and states that he must be her man. The poison master offers her toxic love if he shows her real desperation. The demon master refuses to be the one who lets him walk away today. A sword hangs at his skull. He wants all 5, and taking all 5 means death. Picking only one gets him besieged and killed by the other 4. Rejecting everybody sounds worse, so he sits there fearing for his life. The demon master demands his answer today and tells him to stop dodging. They list the damage. His god Chi swords broke, and his defensive robe is gone. With a blade at his head and poison in his body, they say he cannot run. Lu agrees with them, since even his invincibility has nowhere to go now. He asks the 5 of them one question over the floating sword. Lu smiles and wonders out loud if they can really keep this master down. Lu keeps a calm face, and calm on this guy usually means trouble. One of them jerks upright as the QE around him changes. Lu pulls down the heavenly tribulation to break the great sealing spell. He throws away 7 of his souls to get free of the dragon nail. He raises one finger and keeps that bored look on his face. The 5 strongest people in the realm have him boxed in with no way out. He ascends right there, and a pillar of light erupts under him. As a mortal, he had thought he commanded the wind and the clouds. Lu fought his way to the top of the sect on heart alone. Inside the demon sect, every conflict earned him another enemy. Ancient giants went down too, primeval things nobody else could kill. He built protection over whole regions with talismans and mental work. Fooling everyone else was easy. Fooling himself never worked once. Every peak he climbed still leaves regret and emptiness in his chest. Then he cries out that he really, really wanted to do it. Now that he has ascended, he wonders if he will ever see them again. His eyes blow wide open because 5 more tribulations are firing. 5 pillars of light rise beside his. The women are ascending too. Lu grabs his head and screams while the light keeps climbing. A quiet roof shows up in the sun, with birds calling above it. Inside a strange house, a soft rustle moves through the room. Sunlight lies across a wooden table and an empty chair. Lu wakes up sweating and cannot place a single thing around him. He sits on the window ledge of a room that is not his. The building style is nothing he has seen in his own realm. His skills and exercises are gone, so ascension made him start over. Then his eye catches a shape at the edge of the room. He spins around and finds gold hair spilling right beside him. His eye stays locked on her, and he barely gets a word out. A blonde elf woman sleeps against him, and Lu has no clue where he landed. Lu, our main guy, wakes up beside a sleeping elf woman. He stares at her face and screams inside about how beautiful she is. Her long ears and delicate face match the beauties back at his sect. This realm explains why everyone chases the Tao, yet his Yang skill blocks him. Then Lu stops because one detail about his ruined body comes back. He remembers the skill is gone, so nothing forbids him anymore. Lu dances across the floor, then insists he stays a modest gentleman. He imagines flowers and moonlight first, and then a shy yes from her. He hugs himself and rehearses his line about protecting the fairy sister. Lu keeps grinning while a rustle starts right behind his back. The elf stands over him, clutching her dress, red to the ears. Her green eyes lock on him and her mouth trembles. Lu reaches out and begs the fairy to let him explain. Outside, a whole village of elf women whispers about the intruder. They hung Lu upside down from a tree, and the crowd wants a guillotine. One of them points up and says the pervert actually looks handsome. The mood flips, and the same crowd cheers to let him go. Lu hangs there and studies the view with total focus. Rows of bare legs fill his eyes while his verdict builds. He decides this place beats every scroll he ever read. More faces press in, and Lu calls this the world of immortals. A new voice cuts through the noise and asks what is going on. An elf spins around and shouts for the village head. Their elder, the village head, asks Luna, the elf he woke beside, what happened? The village head takes one look at Lu and shouts that he is handsome. She calls him a lost traveler and invites him to rest in her room. She coughs and asks Luna whether the man did anything to her. Lu blames an eye disease that forces him to squint at people. The village head turns to the crowd and asks for their thoughts. The crowd melts over the poor sick man and calls him even prettier. The village head backs that verdict, and Luna sputters at their choice. Inside her house, she apologizes for the rude villagers, hand on his shoulder. She smiles and offers to serve her new guest herself. Lu notes how bold she is, then asks about local culture and customs. He explains he arrived recently and wants to connect with the locals. She hears a proposition, kicks off her shoe, and tells him not to pity her. Luna throws the door open while Lu yells that this is not what he meant. Luna reports that scouts found fresh traces of orc activity. The raiders move fast and reach the village in 3 days. Luna grabs Lu by the collar while her eyes narrow. She kicks him across the room while the village head orders a defense. The village head asks why the beating was needed at all. Lu lies wrecked with a bloody nose, asking what he did wrong. The village head says a request to the city comes far too late. Her face fills the frame as she says it has turned to this. She looks down at Lu and calls him Mr. Traveler. She asks him to take a commission against the elves' natural enemy. A huge orc sits on a throne with captured elf women around him. Long ago, the moon goddess and the earth goddess were close friends. They played in the forest through every dawn and dusk. Then one day a used cucumber lay on the ground between them. The moon goddess asks how a noble goddess drops trash so casually. The earth goddess fires back and calls the accusation a demon move. The moon goddess calls the whole thing an unfunny lie. The two scream in each other's faces about whose cucumber it is. Their mouths go wide, and it turns into pure yes and no. Elves came from the moon goddess, and orcs from the earth goddess. Lu cannot accept that a whole race traces back to that cucumber. He asks why his help matters, while Luna rests a hand on his head. The village head explains the fatal weakness behind every orc raid. Elf legs go weak near orcs, and the will to resist drains away. Lu points out she has been fond of him since the beginning. She answers that an old prophecy explains every bit of it. Her holy book promises a foreign traveler who wakes between two peaks. She leans on him and says the calendar makes him that traveler. She sets the book down and swears. The text never lies. Luna cuts in that the handwriting on the page looks brand new. Luna also asks why the back begs the sky to grant her a man. Luna keeps reading the lonely part while the village head begs her to stop. Lu sits there and gives up on understanding the immortal world. Then he wonders whether this counts as a fortuitous encounter. Fortuitous encounters are the random jackpots of every cultivation road. A dull stick from the road turns out to be a peerless sword, a guppy from the sea grows into a divine legendary fish, a cheap ring at home hides an unrivaled elder inside. A fall off a cliff ends with a wife and an ancient beast. Lu pumps his fist and swears he can handle the whole job. The village head thanks him and calls him a noble person. She offers 100,000 gold. He refuses. Then she offers 3 maids. Lu demands one right now and she offers to come to his room herself. He backs off fast and says the details can wait until later. Lu raises a hand and asks for some time alone first. Night falls and he sits in the guest house to check what he has left. Inside his empty core, a glowing box appears, the Kunlun box. The Guichu sack floats beside it, packed with priceless treasures. He sits between both, stunned that his old storage survived. Lu snaps his fingers and a black portal tears open. He looks over his shoulder with the whole arsenal ready. His hand pushes into the light and he claims the world. Lu grins that this wave decides his place among immortals. Lu, our fallen immortal, grins that this wave takes him back to the top. Out of the flash drops a mahogany sword and a toilet paper man, both C-grade. He laughs it off and blames a mistake in his own summoning. Lu fires the technique again and shouts about the top one more time. Lu throws his head back and screams until his eyes go white. He works out that his sealed realm can only pull common grade junk. Then green eyes blink at him from the bushes, and he freezes. Lu shouts who's there and lunges around the wall, grabbing a hand. The hand belongs to the elf girl, and she gasps that it is him. She yells his head, keeps falling into her window, and he claims a spy check. The village head walks in, and the elf girl reports the bathroom incident. Lu fires back that she must have seen his 2 precious treasures. The village head's eyes go wide because treasures can also mean darlings. Her hand flies over her mouth while she stares at him. She turns scarlet and repeats the word darlings back at him. Lu screams that she has the wrong idea about the whole thing. The village head drags him away to examine his body personally. Next morning, the elf girl shows him the best archers in the village. Lu builds a battle plan around arrows and promises it runs smooth. He chalks the whole formation on a board while the fairies watch. Lu steps behind an archer and fixes her arms on the bow. His face ends up pressed to her cheek, and both of them freeze. The elf girl grabs his cheek and drags him off the archer. Another fairy pulls her string back and holds a clean stance. Lu lands mouth first on the next one and turns bright red. The elf girl kicks him mid-lesson while 2 others cling together. Small night panels show him running from her across the grass. Lu praises their aptitude, then adds a cheerful for the most part. He invites the weaker shooters to his room for private assistance. 2 busty archers volunteer instantly and ask for his kind care. He tells that pair they haven't hit the mark and need closer work. Behind him, the elf girl turns into a shadow with glowing red eyes. Lu sprints across the field, asking why he keeps getting abused. He stops mid-step with a question mark, and the easy part of the day ends. The village head rushes out because someone yells the orcs arrived. Her face drops since the raid was not due for another day. An elf's legs shake in place as heavy steps come closer. She backs into a room and begs whatever stands there to stop. She swings a small blade and screams at it to stay away. The steel scrapes off gray muscle without leaving a scratch. The orc walks on with his club while her thrust bends uselessly. Her face crumples and she keeps whispering for him to stop. From above, the burning village fills with orcs chasing fairies. A grinning mouth orders the raiders not to damage the merchandise. Zu Sadr, the 9th orc prince, carries a limp elf under one arm. Two captives sob while the orcs tell them to quit wasting time. The fairies get lined up in the square with clubs at their backs. Zu-Soder announces his title and calls the elves natural servants. He leans over the crowd and orders every slave to kneel. The fairies drop into the dirt on their knees, one after another. Lu's voice cuts in, warning the archers to spare innocent targets. The fairy sisters raise their bows on his order and fire. Arrows punch into the orc line and drop the closest bodies. One orc catches the shafts in his bare fist and holds them. Zu-Soder scoffs at the volley and calls the shooters a bunch of wastes. Lu tells them to follow the plan and focus everything on the leader. The archers start a chant to the spirits of all 6 directions. 3 of them draw together and call on the pillars of heaven. Their arrows spiral into one huge white ring around the prince. Zu-Soder notices that these elves are suddenly taking orders from someone. On the roof, a fairy asks Lu if his plan really works. The spinning shafts slam into the prince's shoulder and chest. His head snaps around and he barks out a confused, "Huh." A fairy hand seals the North Spirit and asks for an opening. Her fingers shift again and sentence him at the village gate. Zu-Soder roars with arrows buried across his arms and chest. Lu stands on the roof while the prince drops below him. He calls it an ultralight immortal sword array, and his climb starts now. The orc takes a full volley of arrows in the chest and just roars through it. His face barely moves. He calls the whole mess interesting, twice. The arrow shafts crack apart against his gray hide and fall off. The orc says one nowhere village gave him far more trouble than expected. Then he lifts a glowing green artifact over his head and tells the elves to endure that. The elves drop flat under the purple light, groaning that they cannot stand up. The village head names the thing, the sacred object of the orcs, and Lu, still calm behind her, asks if she means the cucumber. She explains no elf alive can resist that artifact's power. The orc laughs that his father handed him the delivery job on the way here, pure bad luck for them. The village head plants her staff in the dark and refuses to fold because her villagers always believed in one silly old chief. She cuts her own palm and lets the blood run down the wood. Her voice shakes as she offers that blood to the gods of fire. The bloodied staff swings up and she calls the fire spirit down. A pyroblast swallows the whole yard in one ball of flame. She screams that nobody is laying a finger on her people. The orc panics that a tiny remote village is hiding a real powerhouse mage. Then he grins through the smoke and says he was only kidding. He strolls out of the fire with his axe and asks if Masterclass was the best they had. Purple lightning wraps around him and the rank goes higher. The orc is a grandmaster. He tears straight through the firestorm without slowing down. The blast wave catches the village head clean in the face. She goes down with her robe shredded, whispering that he turned out to be a grand master. Flat on the ground, she apologizes to everyone and stops moving. A pale hand catches her body before it reaches the dirt. Lu props her up and tells her she fought earnestly and that the view was unforgettable. She asks if he really wants to tease her right now, then begs him to use the chance and run. Instead, Lu brings up the reward she promised, 3 maids and herself included. Her eyes blow wide open and she agrees to take his word for it. He tells her to leave the rest to him and steps past her on the roof. Across the burning village, the orc hums, curious about the new arrival. The orc asks what cat dragged this weak little human man in here. Lu gives him a name and nothing more, still smiling. The orc offers to dice him in one swing, and Lu answers that he once stood at the very top of the world. Back then, all that beauty and pleasure stayed out of his reach. Now 3 maidservants and 1 fairy sister are waiting on him. He asks the orc if anyone gets to take that away from him. The realmless against a grandmaster starts next. Lu plants himself in the path and asks the orc prince if he really thinks he is getting any further tonight. The orc roars a dare back at him, and purple lightning wraps both of his arms. Lu lifts 2 fingers, and a white blast tears straight up into the strike. The 2 forces meet, and the shockwave flattens everything around them. Lu walks out of it smiling and asks if that was really all of it. Sweat runs down the orc prince's face because nothing he throws is landing. The elf mage watches from the trees with her mouth hanging open. Her 6th level magic died to that exact strike, and Lu answered it with one hand. Lu pulls a small glowing paper figure out from behind his back. The card calls it Toilet Paper Man, a common grade charm he built as a joke, and it blocks anything under the nascent soul stage. Lu opens his palm against the dark and tells the orc that this move belongs to him. Teal light rips through the black and folds itself into an edge. What lands in his grip is a freshly conjured mahogany sword, common grade and nothing more. The orc prince squints at it and asks if that is honestly a wooden sword. His fist closes around the blade to snap it in half. Lu grins and tells him he never made it past the nascent soul stage. The orc barely gets 2 words out before the wooden edge goes through him. One stroke opens the Grandmaster from shoulder to hip. Lu spins out of the swing while the orc's huge weapon drops behind him. Blood sprays out of the orc prince's mouth in a straight red line. Lu rests the sword on his shoulder while the body comes apart. The elf mage cannot believe a Grandmaster fell in one hit and guesses at a legendary holy sword. That blade is honestly mahogany and common grade, since Lu cannot reach a high grade one. Years back, he faced the Heavenly Master, his old duel rival, and picked the cheapest wooden sword on purpose to humiliate her. The judge lifts his arm in the air and declares the mahogany sword the winner. She sits on the stone with her golden sword snapped clean through and calls it ridiculous. The judge explains that a common grade tool normally cracks apart during refining. Lu pushed his through 9,999 passes, so it now cuts harder than a medium immortal sword. The judge holds it overhead and names it the sword that conquers everything up to the nascent soul stage. Lu's blade crumbles in his fingers because one use is all a common grade ever gets. The elf mage peeks out from behind a tree and asks if it is over. Lu tucks his fist in and sets up a victory pose. His hair whips sideways and a sparkle pops off the end of it. He leans back and laughs that the orc prince went down way too easy. Lu spins around about the reward waiting at the village head, 3 maids included. He turns to the elf mage and offers to count her as one of those 3. She goes completely stiff, and Lu asks what the big deal even is. Behind him, the orc prince stands back up with red light burning under his skin. Orc blood carries a talent that flips fatal damage into a short berserk rage. The prince throws his head back and screams with nothing left of his mind. Lu finally drops the grin and calls himself careless. A giant axe shadow comes down through the dust at both of them. Lu shoves the elf mage clear of the swing with one arm. He wonders out loud why he bothered, since he barely knows her. Then he admits that she has always felt familiar to him. The elf mage looks back at him and calls him a fool. A pair of pale hands locks into a thunder seal. Lightning drops out of the sky and burns the orc prince into a black smear. Lu looks up from the grass and starts naming the 5 thunder rectification. He gets 1 word out and stops because he already knows who casts that. White hair and red silk step down beside the elf mage. The Heavenly Master keeps her eyes shut while gold sparks trail off her sleeves. Her red heels press into the grass without a sound. She turns her face away, blushing, and tells Lu, "It is not like she came to save him, idiot. The woman whose sword he broke is now standing over him." The woman who dropped that lightning stands in the grass with her eyes still shut. Her red heels press down and the gold sparks around her fade out. She opens red eyes at Lu and asks if he really thought she came to save him. Lu sits up and blurts out her name, Xiaoyu, the Heavenly Master he ran from. He mutters that the 5 of them must have ascended on the same day he did. Xiaoyu keeps staring down at him without blinking once. Blood runs from his forehead while she asks about his missing cultivation base. Lu laughs it off in the village lane and begs her to drop the master title. Xiaoyu asks whether she would ever be so bold, and her foot slams the ground. Her heel grinds the grass while she praises him for ascending under their siege. Xiaoyu hugs her arms and says the immortal world with him makes her happy. Lu sweats through a fake smile and answers that he is not sure about that. Her blush deepens and both eyes fix on him without a word. The first bolt launches him into the air over his fairy sister's remark. A second bolt catches him for telling one of them to visit his room. A third one lands for the part about instructing her closely. The last bolt hits for the line about making her one of his maids. His body slaps flat into the stone wall. Lu slides down into the dirt and gets out half of her name. He points a finger at her and demands to know her realm now. Xiaoyu burns him again because pointing at her was the wrong move. His hair puffs out into a smoking afro while he repeats the 3 months part. Xiaoyu crosses her arms and says she woke at golden core and reached nascent soul. Lu rubs his chin and names the mirror flower water moon trick behind the elf face. She confirms it, and Dream Butterfly rewrote her own mind on top of that. Lu asks what conditions could shatter a seal built like that. Xiaoyu answers that real danger or another cultivator would undo it. Lu grins and starts working out what that means about their first meeting. Her face goes scarlet, and she screams at him to stop talking. Morning comes, and the village head recalls Luna arriving 3 months back. Xiaoyu thanks the village head for the shelter and hears thanks for the orcs. The old elf calls it the prophecy about travelers cleansing her race. Xiaoyu asks her to keep the whole thing quiet since they leave tomorrow. Lu cuts in with a yell about one important thing he almost forgot. He sprints off because he never looted the orc after that fight. Lu stops dead with his mouth open and manages 2 broken words. The orc prince is now a black lump of charcoal with its tongue out. Lu wails that the weapons and gear all burned, then blames Xiaoyu out loud. He crouches at the ash and digs for whatever survived a thunder technique. 2 censored orc organs turn up, so he kicks the pile and calls them useless. Lu freezes when a green light starts glowing behind his back. A sparkling green relic rises up, and the caption refuses to explain its function. Lu and 2 elves scream in unison that it is that thing. He hides it fast and swears there is nothing to see. He blames Xiaoyu for erasing the whole treasure haul with 1 strike. Lu sprints across the field yelling for the village head, who asks what he wants. He yanks the green relic out of his waistband and tells her to look at it. The village head turns pink and covers half her face with 1 hand. Daylight returns and Xiaoyu announces that it is time to say goodbye. The elves crowd in and ask whether 1 night was really enough. Lu perks up and starts a sentence about the 3 maids. The pair walk off down the dirt path with the village head watching. The village head calls after him and asks the traveler to hold on. Her hand catches his wrist before he can take another step. Lu's visible eye widens at the sudden grip on his arm. The village head leans up and plants a kiss on his cheek. Her fingers rest on his jaw for another second. She thanks the traveler quietly with her lips still close to him. Xiaoyu turns away with a loud "Humph," while those 2 say goodbye. The village head winks and invites him back whenever he wants. Lu throws up a thumb and promises that this time he will be back. Xiaoyu kicks him in the head for taking a yard from an inch. A pillar of gold light drops straight onto the village rooftops. The light hardens into a huge glowing gate above the grass. The elves gather in the gold haze and stare up at it. The village head tells everyone to relax because the holy sea sent it. A bare foot in black stockings steps out of the gate onto the grass. A silver-haired woman walks through in white armor with 2 swords behind her. The elves whisper that a high-ranking knight deserves some respect. The village head thinks she outranks that, a knight commander at least. The title card names her Azure, the Pope's knight over the province of Aid. The village head calls that rank a saint-level powerhouse and stiffens up. Azure says her scouts reported orcs moving in to invade this area. The village head admits it and credits a brave passerby for the kill. Azure hears there is no mana in the ash and asks who dropped a Grandmaster orc. Her retainer offers to question the elves about the sacred orc items. Azure orders them to bring that person in and keep him alive. A green-haired knight in black gloves snaps her arm into a salute. Livia, her retainer knight, swears to obey, so the Holy See is now hunting Lu over the relic he stuffed down his pants. Lu and his teacher Xiaoyu stop in a wide green field outside Aid City. She tells him straight out that this place is not the immortal world at all. Lu already worked that out. The spiritual energy here flows in a whole different pattern. Then he grins and drops the news that he established his foundation yesterday. Xiaoyu just stares and calls that speed insane. His eye fills the panel. He warns her that what waits ahead is flat out dangerous. Xiaoyu groans that he has told the tiger hunting story 800 times already. She says 3 months here taught her the fastest route, which is signing on as an adventurer. Lu repeats the word adventurer like he has never heard it before. A guild card explains it. Adventurers hunt evil and keep the peace. They kill monsters for commissions, which pushes up their money and their strength. The best ones get promoted to registered heroes with real privileges. A hero can chat up any woman he wants, even in front of her date. A hero can search anyone's house, bed included, while the owner watches. A hero also keeps every scrap of loot he pulls off a corpse. Lu's jaw drops at the idea that all of this is legal. They set off while Lu celebrates his brand new flirting license. 2 circles of glass frame them from far across the grass. Behind the lenses sits a green-haired girl in round goggles. She lowers the binoculars into the grass without a sound. The scout confirms their road really does lead to Aid City. She keeps watching because this is the man who stopped the Grandmaster Orc Prince. Aid City spreads out below, all red roofs and narrow stone streets. Inside a wooden hall hangs the sign of the Adventurers Guild. A clerk greets them and confirms this is the Aid City branch. The clerk turns out to be a bunny-eared woman in a black leotard. Lou's face breaks into a full red-cheeked scream. A galaxy opens behind him while strange knowledge gets filed away. He shouts that the clothing in this world is incredible. Then he pictures Xiaoyu in the same outfit, ears and all. Xiaoyu handles the paperwork while Lu lies planted headfirst in the floor. The clerk offers a rookie job, killing a mystic vine that pesters travelers. Easy money in theory. Lu reads the poster and starts giggling to himself. In his head, the vine has Xiaoyu wrapped up and screaming for him. He takes the job on the spot with blood running from his nose. The real vine has him instead, dangling by all four limbs. The scout watches from the trees while Lu lies flat beside the dead vine. She sketches him in her notebook next to her thunder magic notes. The clerk calls them efficient and offers to line up harder jobs. Lu waves her off because one outfit in this city costs 5,000. He picks the slime, the lowest ranking monster on the board. Behind the paper, he admits he wants no more lightning. He marches out first and leaves Xiaoyu jogging after him. He plans to win this fight in front of her and finally look valiant. That plan lasts about 4 seconds. Xiaoyu lets out a scream that cuts him off mid-thought. She has both arms clamped over herself, shaking and red. The threat is one small blue slime sitting in the grass. Lu tells her it is tiny and cute. She refuses to even look at it. He works it out. No monster like this existed in their old world. He asks if his teacher is scared of sticky little things. Then he uses her full name and she freezes where she stands. He looks straight at her and tells her she is cute. Xiaoyu stands frozen and the slime tilts with the same confused look. He keeps going. She always looks cute, especially when a compliment makes her proud. He says she is cute when she zaps him and cute when a monster shows her weak side. She keeps trying to hide the fear and he tells her that makes it worse. Then he wheels on the slime for daring to threaten that cuteness. He drops into a stance and calls up his foundation stage technique. Chibi Lu announces that it is time to make a move. The slime answers with its own skill, mimicry. Lu names the move, a shift of form and style. He calls it useless in a fight, a trick meant only to confuse. The blue mass spirals up and starts taking a human shape. The shape settles into a woman of clear blue water and she is stunning. The slime woman towers over them wearing nothing, and Lu can only ask where the clothes went. The blue slime woman leans in dripping wet and manages one confused grunt. Lu backs across the grass and says she is copying his moves, so his plan needs a rewrite. He rewrites it by dropping low for a look straight up her legs and calling that a fresh point of view. Chibi Lu gives his own idea a proud thumbs up. Xiaoyu has him pinned flat on the grass and he wheezes that her combat ethics need work. Her face goes scarlet. She stumbles on the first word, then screams out 5 thunder execution. From the tree line, a knight of the Holy See watches the pair and the slime. Her notebook rates the young woman as dangerously strong and the young man as a weak chicken pervert. The knight decides the girl is far too formidable to take on directly. Later, the guest room of the Adventurers Guild sits quiet. Lu, fried into a white afro, complains that Xiaoyu has tortured him since she outranked him. His eye narrows because Raw Realm will never win this fight for him. One hand slips under the robe and closes on the treasure he thought he had lost. He throws the robe open in a rainbow blaze and orders her to come admit her faults to Brother Ye. Chibi Lu rubs his hands together and asks her to demonstrate a fusion of 2 illusion arts. Xiaoyu snaps that the technique is nothing special and tells him to study it alone. He purrs that her cultivation beats his, so asking his senpai for advice felt only right. The words senpai and advice flood the screen while she notes that this fool is begging her. Her whole face turns pink. Admitting he ranks beneath her took courage, so refusing feels impossible. She strikes a pose and grants him pointers exactly once. A red heel steps through blue light while she warns that this demonstration comes only once. Her body shifts into a blonde elf. One art changes the look, the other bends what people notice. The elf explains that both arts build lies and nobody alive can see through this new shape. Lu beams that she now counts as a real elf. Then he whips out a green orc relic and tells her to experience it. The elf clamps her arms over her chest and demands to know what he is trying. The relic spins in the air while he offers a deal, starting with no more anger and no more lightning. The elf gives him nothing back, so he asks whether her zapping habit has made her arrogant. Lu waves it around and brags that Brother Ye kept this secret weapon hidden the whole time. The relic slips out of his fingers while he warns her about accidents. It hits the wooden floor and snaps clean into two halves. Lu's face drains into black and white horror. Chibi Lu trembles over the broken halves while the elf stands there watching. He scoops up both pieces and stuffs them into his coat. At the door, he suggests Xiao Yu rest up while he handles today's task, then waves by. Downstairs, he keeps walking with sweat running and his eyes locked forward. Upstairs, the elf scoffs that no orc relic works on her since the elf body is a fake. Then she asks the empty room why he could not simply come to her instead. Night settles over the forest under a full moon. A corrupted dragon rears up screaming with its jaw torn wide open. Lu stands over the head with a glowing blue blade and calls the task complete. His quest scroll rates the pseudo-legendary monster around the nascent soul stage. The immortal sword sits planted in the ground, and he admits nascent soul is his ceiling. Blood streaks his cheek while he tells himself the climb has to speed up. His silhouette steps out of the cave mouth into the night trees. Back in the tunnel, he strolls along, humming, completely relaxed. The knight studies the lair and doubts a partyless adventurer could survive that dragon. She tells herself he is finally alone and can be taken into custody for examination. Her eye snaps wide as a voice behind her repeats that plan back word for word. She spins up with mace and shield and shouts that Holy See business is nobody else's. Her stare locks on the newcomer, and she asks whether this woman is a succubus. A succubus with a spaded tail says she waited for him alone too, then asks why the knight follows him. The knight orders her to scram and warns her off the mission one final time. The succubus closes in with a spiked mace and tells the little knight she has misread the situation. She smiles with a glowing purple eye and asks if tailing her brother is a death wish. The knight snaps back that nobody talks down to the Holy See. The succubus stamps one heel into the rock and launches off it. She sails over the knight with her mace up and repeats those two words back. She asks what usually happens to people who offend her brother's sect. The mace crashes onto the raised sword, and she asks how many she has killed. The knight's chest plate cracks, and she calls that power monstrous. The blow throws her back through rock and dust, sword still in her grip. The succubus glides after her and says a little knight cannot stop her. The knight's eye snaps wide as she reads the arc of the swing. She uncorks a small vial and calls out holy water, mirage form. Water coils up the spiked head while the succubus keeps swinging. The knight punches the air and the weapon stalls inside a bubble. The bubble swells into a sphere and holds the mace floating inside. Green light climbs the knight's blade and she says not to underestimate. Wings of light burst out as she shouts the name of her order. The knight steadies her aim through a sweating stare. She drives the blade into a glowing golden cube of runes. The succubus waits in the clouds and asks if that old trick is all she has. She lifts one finger, the golden frames shatter, and she asks who the rival is. The knight asks what spell this is, and the succubus names the cloud formation. The formation throws the knight clear and she yells on the way out. She drops past the cliff edge with her sword spinning away from her hand. On the way down, she calls holy water, mirage form one more time. The knight's eyes fly open as the sea rushes up at her. A white column erupts off the water where she hits. She sinks under with her clothes torn and her eyes shut. The peak stands far above her, one small figure watching from the top. The succubus mutters that her own energy is running low. She walks off to feed again and wonders where her hammer went. Down in town, the Adventurers Guild opens for business. The guild receptionist waves a fresh notice and yells extra issue. An adventurer at a table asks where her fool went, while the notice names a succubus who preys on young women. The receptionist holds out the poster and says the bounty is high. The poster lists her as a high-ranking monster who siphons girls in their sleep and is not very bright. The adventurer's eye stops on the horns in the drawing. Both hands hit the table as she shouts the name Yu Yu. She takes the job on the spot and promises to bring the bounty in. Out in the woods under the moon, Lu looks up and says nothing at all. A knight has landed in the grass, and Lu decides she looks a lot like his sister. His hand goes straight for her chest purely to check her breathing. He hauls her onto his back and calls the whole thing lucky timing. He carries her into a cave with cold gray walls. The knight's face goes red and damp while she stays out cold. Blue light drains off her skin in a thin cyan thread. Her whole body shivers and she mumbles that it feels warm. One eye cracks open, wet, and she asks, "Who is doing this?" She turns her head and finds Lu pressed to her cheek with his eyes shut, and a Holy See knight waking up like this can only end loud. Lu, our sect master, cracks one eye open and hums a curious "oh" at the girl lying against him. The girl in his arms, a knight of the Holy See, wakes up bare and manages half a word. Lu explains it flat. He ran Reiki through her to heal the wounds. Clothes burned during that, so he stripped her with zero distracting thoughts. Her pupils shrink to dots. She gets one syllable out. Per. The scream hits the cave roof and she bolts into the dark tunnel. 2 steps in, she wails again, because running fixes nothing here. An arrow points down at her. She looks, and the panic doubles. She sprints straight back along the same wet stone. The knight rounds on him and demands to know where her clothes went. Lu points at the floor. Torn white shreds lie in the dirt. He says the design of her outfit defeated him and it spoiled while he worked. She swings both fists and calls him a pervert who deserves to die. Lu gets shaken like a sack, hands up, begging her to notice that all this swinging only hurts her more. Her arms freeze above her head. The math finally arrives. Her face goes furnace red, and the shriek shakes loose rock. She clamps her arms over herself while Chibi Lu flails behind her. The knight fires off every insult she owns, and Lu quietly asks why one person needs this much cursing. Lu reaches into a green tear in the air and says he has an idea. He pulls out a red dress and a white one and offers her first pick. He also admits both are souvenirs kept from other girls. She hides behind her hands, so Lu mentions there is another option. He lifts a black outfit and a pink one. These styles run more private, but that is his entire stock. The knight curls into a steaming ball and refuses to answer that. Lu shrugs, tells her to do whatever she wants, and walks off. She panics instantly and yells at him to wait. A pink silk slip hangs in the light like treasure. Her finger shoots up and claims that one. The moon climbs over the tree line while she works on it. Lu waits with his arms crossed and asks if she is done yet. A few moments crawl past inside the cold cave. He glances back over his shoulder and asks a second time. Her voice cracks out of the black. Not yet, and what is he planning? Lu answers that his plans mean nothing because her body is still torn up inside. Lu asks whether the dress is finally on her. He lets out a long breath when she confirms it. He turns and starts walking toward the mouth of the cave. Then he stops dead and stares at nothing. The knight stands in pink silk, declaring the Holy Father the Most High and warning him against strange ideas. Lu throws both hands up. Those clothes are stolen goods, and that is not even his main point. His face drops the comedy. She fell from a huge height, her organs are wrecked, and her thrashing blocks the treatment. The knight puffs up and starts a speech about the blessings her order gets from God. Lu lifts 3 fingers in front of her face and starts a countdown. 2, and the speech dries up in her throat. 1. His finger stops beside one very calm eye. She drops to the stone floor, legs folding under the pink silk. Blood comes up with a cough and streaks her chin. Lu walks over and tells her these attacks keep coming, and at this rate she never sees tomorrow. Her eye finds him. She wants a promise on the Son of God that he only treats the wounds. He raises one palm and asks what she imagines his intentions are. Lu reminds her they are strangers. He owes her nothing, so she can file this under good people doing good deeds. He adds that he can slip away right now if she truly refuses. She turns her bare back to him and explains the discipline her order runs on. The coma excused everything. Being awake excuses nothing. By her doctrine, all people are sinners and birth is filth. So undressing while clear-headed means she consents to showing him that filth. The knight adds that the rest of it is implied. Lu's whole face goes red while the words keep coming. She is ready and willing to commit herself to him. She stands there in the pink slip and says it plainly. She is his person now. Far from that cave, Aid City sleeps under a heavy night sky. Curtains snap in an open window on the upper floor. A shadowed face drags a thread of purple light out of the room. The demon straightens up and sighs that her belly is finally full. A woman lies in the bed with a glowing mark on her chest, thanking her like she just got a favor. An empty wooden shop stands quiet in the afternoon light. A woman crossing the street mutters that she has to find that fool and warn him about his sister. A sorceress reads the traces left in that battle array to pin down where the fallen knight landed. The messenger lifts a strand of his hair and tells her talisman to show the way. Constellations flare open across a black sky. The star map folds down into one blinding point. A purple eye opens with a heart burning inside the pupil. A red eye opens beside it, and both women say the same three words. There you are. Lou, our main guy, just heard this girl offer him her whole body, and all he says is what? He shuts his eyes and rubs his chin like the offer needs serious thinking. The knight fidgets behind him in her pink dress, red all the way to her ears. Lou keeps standing there with one hand in his pocket, still chewing on her words. She lifts her head and tells him fine, she understands now. The knight locks her hands together and begs the Son of God to forgive her filthy body. She swears to devote that body to the man in front of her. Lou is not listening at all. He tells her flatly that she should turn around. The knight asks whether it must be done from the back. Lou answers, of course. She drops onto all fours in front of his boots and mumbles that she's got it. His palm settles on her bare shoulder blade. Lou leans near her ear and warns her it may sting at first, then pass in a moment. Her eyes squeeze shut and a small O slips out. Sweat runs down her cheek while she keeps panting. She finally snaps that endless back rubbing is not what that aspect means and asks about the noises. Lou answers that healing only needs her back shifted, and those noises are common aura fluctuation. Her jaw drops at the word healing. He asks what else it could possibly be. A moment ago he told her the outfit was skimpy enough already, so treatment could just start. Lou yells at her, asking whether she listened to a single word. Her eyes turn into spirals while she stutters over and over. The moon hangs above the trees as she wails that she doesn't know anymore. He grabs her shoulder and calls her futile-minded for devoting herself so casually. She insists those are the holy words of the Son of God, and Knights of the Holy See obey them. Lou asks who this Son of God even is, her hands pressed together tight in her lap. The Knight explains he is the Pope, Master of the Holy See, and the Lord's spokesperson here. She adds that her people live, grow strong, and die for God by their own choice. Lou calls that fascinating, since dying for a god means the god holds real prestige. She asks whether strangers from distant places are always this impolite about God. His eye narrows and he admits his own homeland works rather differently. In his memory, a black-haired sect master rejects divinity and wants their father killed for immortality. Lou looks down at the kneeling knight and says, "Gods back home are things people kill off." Then he wonders aloud whether healing a Holy See knight earns him some kind of award. Her eyes go huge. She offers to convert him because her church always takes new disciples. Lou grins and asks if the prize is a beautiful woman. The knight blinks at him and asks whether that guess is wrong. His eye fills the panel. Then is it money? Her smile stiffens. She gets two words out before he cuts her off again. Lou pushes once more and asks about magic equipment. She goes dizzy and admits equipment only comes after becoming a knight. Lou drops the whole idea. Without wealth, he says, her church can't compare to his sex. The dark forest sits under a sky full of stars, and the knight is not done with her yet. Later, he asks the knight whether she feels better. She answers that she's okay, much better than before. Lou explains he used Reiki on her internal injuries and sorted her meridians, so rest finishes it. She rises with her hands at her chest and thanks him quietly. Lou waves it away and calls helping people a trivial little matter. His eyes flare pink while he asks how she ended up fainting alone in an open field. The glowing ring spins inside his eye. The same pink rings clamp onto her green eye. Her face empties out and she goes silent. Lou rests his hand on her forehead. His leftover aura makes the weakest version of the art enough. Lou smirks that picking up a girl in the middle of nowhere without suspicion would ruin his journey. The knight kneels frozen while he promises that questioning her will be a piece of cake. Far off, a woman lifts a finger trailing gold sparks and notes her target stayed close despite the injury. She stands in a moonlit clearing with a tail behind her, calling out that Succubus' sister is coming. A second woman pulls a thin gold thread off her fingertip and groans that the trail runs too far. She walks deeper between the trees. A shout hits her from behind, calling her a damn fool for sneaking around. Lu smiles at the girl in the pink slip and asks why she is out here. She looks away and says she was just passing by. His hand snaps up and a pulse of spirit magic rolls off his fingers. His eye fixes on hers and he orders her to speak the truth. Her whole body lights up and the words, "Holy Orc Artifact," fall out of her mouth. Lu repeats them back, suddenly very interested. She admits her boss sent her after whoever grabbed the holy relic, and she cannot stop the words coming. Lu pushes harder and asks who that master is. She fights the answer for a second, then folds. Her boss is Azure, the Pope's cavalier, and this girl serves as her retainer knight. Lu folds his arms and asks what happens now that she has found him. The knight says Azure wants him delivered alive. Lu throws a small fit over the idea of being captured at all. She adds that the plan included torture right after the capture. His hand shoots out at her before she can soften that part. He howls about cruel interrogation while she yelps under his grip. Lu lists how he protected the elven village and did nothing but good deeds. He complains that they still want him tied up and questioned, and she just sobs. He points a finger and asks if this counts as divine justice. Lu asks if torture is the law of the land now, and she flinches. She cries that it was her master's mission and she had no choice. Lu drops the joking and asks why Azure cares about holy orc artifacts. She says the relics are low grade, but they tie into the artifact hunters the Holy See is chasing. Her voice starts to slur in the middle of the sentence. The glow fades and her eyes go glassy. Lu pats her head and works out that his weak spirit arts have hit their limit. At least he knows now that the Holy See wants him torn apart. The magic is slipping anyway, and he decides to have some fun with what is left. He asks what her stiff Holy See says about a man she admires. The knight repeats those words back, completely dazed. She admits she has never been close to a man before today. She says her heart is beating in a pleasant, very strange way. Lu strikes a pose and calls his immortal charm unstoppable. Then he leans in and asks her for her 3 measurements. She mumbles her answer out, red to the ears. Lu cups his ear and tells her to speak up. She screams the numbers straight into his face. Her fists close on his collar and yank him in. The knight snaps that the Holy See is done with his spirit magic. She shouts that her order will not tolerate this kind of dishonor. Lu is stunned that she burned her last strength to break the spell. She drags him down with her as she topples over. Lu flails in the air and tells her to stop pulling him. They end up tangled on the dirt, her face pressed against his hair. A black high heel steps down right beside them. The owner of that heel stands over the pile in a dark bodysuit, a devil tail swaying behind her. A horned woman with violet eyes stares down at them, and Lu is still flat on his back with an enemy knight in his arms. The horned woman leans in close and asks Lu if he is busy right now. She keeps one eye shut, smiles, and offers to step back outside. Lu goes stiff, and white lightning cracks behind his head. He stares at those horns and pointed ears and asks if she is really his sister. Under his palm lies the other woman, still wearing his sister's borrowed underwear. Lu springs off her and lands a full body away. He waves both hands and swears there is a reason for all of this. His sister shuts her eyes, smiles very sweetly, and says, "Okay." A golden cloud formation array unrolls behind her as she walks in. Lu watches the light spread and mutters that she is really coming at him. He summons the imitation immortal sword and rams it into the golden beam. His sister asks if he is only Foundation establishment while he spots her nascent soul rank. Lu holds up 2 fingers and she asks why her opinion should matter. She floats down inside the array and says she treasured every memory of him. Lu scratches his head and points out that there are outsiders present. His sister smiles, and the golden rings behind her wind tighter. She stands inside a giant 8-sided formation and repeats the word outsiders. Lu looks up into the light with his hood down and his hands open. Her palm lights up while she asks if a brother and sister are too attached. The color drains out of her, and only the violet eye stays bright. The 1,000-space prison array detonates and swallows him whole. She turns her back on the blast and lets the walls close in. She touches her lip and asks whether her brother can break out of it. A red crack rips across the wall behind her shoulder. Lu erupts out of the prison with cyan blades shredding every shard. His sister stands in the debris and throws him a lazy peace sign. He walks over to her while his swords stand cooling in the dirt. She presses both hands to her cheeks and calls her brother the strongest. Lu beat her at Foundation Establishment without ever putting up a fight. He raises a hand and warns her that his sword is close to its limit. His sister grins and tells him she is fully aware of that. She charges anyway, and their attacks smash together over the dirt. His eye goes wide with cyan light burning across his face. Her palm lands on his chest with the cloud formation Taiji strike. Lu drops flat, and she stands over him with one hand on her hip. The other woman scrambles up and starts shouting at both of them. His sister lifts one finger and tells her not to be a hindrance. A golden box snaps shut around her before she finishes the sentence. A hand clamps over Lu's mouth, and fists pound on the glowing wall. The other woman's eyes go huge behind the golden panel. Two shadows press together above her, and she calls out for brother. She claps both palms over her cheeks and stares without blinking. Pink light falls across a parted mouth and a curtain of white hair. His sister pulls back, flushed, and cheers that she finally sucked him in. A heart burns in her eye while she praises how strong his vitality runs. Lu smiles through the sweat and asks if she can release him now. She tugs at her own shoulder strap and brings up the main affairs. Her top slides off her shoulders as she says those have not even started. Lu stares up at his sister and says her name like a warning. The other woman clamps both palms on her cheeks and keeps watching. A pale arm with a red wrist wrap rises out of the dark behind them. The other woman's eyes blow open at whoever just walked in. Xiaoyu, one of the women who besieged him, steps out in a torn white dress. Her whole face burns red to the ears while she says nothing at all. She locks a glare on the other woman, who freezes inside the gold light. Xiaoyu turns that same look on his sister and sweat runs down her cheek. Now she knows why his sister grabbed today's mission, and her hands shake. Her eyes go dark red, and she screams his full name across the cave. Lu begs her to let him explain while his sister pulls her top back on. His sister covers a smile with one hand and greets Xiaoyu like an old friend. Xiaoyu asks if she planned this when she talked everyone into besieging him. His sister admits the siege was her idea but swears the ascension was not. A red heel grinds down on the rock while Xiaoyu asks if that is true. Xiaoyu leans in and demands to know why she was riding him just now. Then she points at the other woman, who stands there in borrowed underwear. Lu lifts one finger and calls the whole scene a big misunderstanding. Both women tell him to shut up, and he crouches down and accepts the order. The two keep bickering while the other woman waits quietly by the gold wall. The other woman bites into her fingertip until blood runs down it. She whispers that she has to finish before the three of them notice. His sister tells Xiaoyu that first come, first serve settles this kind of thing. She calls him her childhood playmate and jokes about grandchildren by now. A heart burns inside her purple eye while she asks if Xiaoyu is angry yet. Xiaoyu folds her arms and asks if he ever mentioned who his first kiss was. In that kiss, Xiaoyu leans in with her eyes shut and her mouth on his. His sister grins with her eyes squeezed shut and starts a line at her brother. Xiaoyu trips straight onto him in the memory, and she calls that an accident. His sister crosses her arms and decides to play along with this game. She scoffs and asks what one kiss is even supposed to prove. Steam rises around her in the bath where she and her brother wash together. Xiaoyu shrieks his name and squeezes the gray blob against her chest. Two kids sit in a wooden tub with a duck, and he yells that they were children. Xiaoyu points and scoffs that his sister never got anywhere with him anyway. His sister smiles with a vein popping and asks whether Xiaoyu ever did. Lu waves his hands and explains that his pure yang blocked everything before. Both of them scream at him to shut it, and he ducks under the noise. His sister asks, eye shining purple, whether Xiaoyu came here to trade blows. Xiaoyu answers with a red stare and asks if she dreads losing today. A golden bagua wheel opens behind his sister, who tells her to come closer. Talismans and lightning spin around Xiaoyu while she calls her rival in. Away from the two of them, the other woman gasps that it is finally finished. She kneels beside a red mark she painted on the stone with her own blood. The mark flares white gold, and not one of them is watching it. A short while ago, night sits over a forest in Ade Province. A man in dark clothes steps in front of his wife and swears to a knight that they did nothing wrong. Sweat runs down his face while he begs the knight to let them both go. The charge is abducting old people. His wife shouts that a son dumped his own mother in the mountains. She keeps going, insisting she meant well when she put that old man to rest. A gloved hand holds a glowing blue vial right against her side. She screams as blue fire eats into her hand and her husband whips around. Steam pours off her fingers and he shouts that this is holy water. He asks if she can hear him. She only whimpers that the pain is too much. The knight asks whether she still wants to debate. The last two words are heretic necromancer, and his wife just blinks. She sobs that she really has done nothing wrong, and he sighs that he told her not to meddle. He wraps her up while she asks what else she was supposed to do. He cups her wet face and asks where the church was while a baron crushed her for years. Two swords hover beside the white knight, while he says common folk are not ants to tread on. His eye burns red, and a red circle crawls up his forearm. He bows his head and asks a dragon sleeping in the abyss to forgive the disturbance. The ground bursts open around the knight while he admits the dragon is only dust now. He crouches in the crater grinning and orders that death to bring destruction on his enemies. His face fills the panel with the widest grin in the province, summoning of the dead, and a black shape rips out of the light. An abyss dragon lands behind her, so she pulls a blade to meet it. She stands under the jaws without taking a single step back. The necromancer rides its back and brags that nobody expected his caliber out here. He throws a hand up and tells the world to behold his wickedness. The knight walks straight into the blue blast with both swords out. She confirms the heresy and calls him the murderer of Baron Peyton. Then she names herself Azure, the Pope's own cavalier, and judges him. He stops mid-brag and repeats that she is a knight of the Pope. He yells that a little girl cannot possibly carry that rank. Her golden eye opens and she calls out Martial Saint, absolute heavenly balance. The abyss dragon rears up with blue fire pouring off its wings. One clean swing takes the head off it. A golden crest glows in Azure's glove while a voice asks whether Livia, a retainer knight, found the orc artifact. Two shadows wait in the dark, and Azure says it is time for the next trial. A golden sigil burns to life against a wall of rock. The light stretches into a pillar and sparks climb it. The pillar opens into a tall golden gate. A bare foot steps out of the glow onto the ground. A twin-tailed silhouette walks through and tells Livia she has done very well. Livia beams up at her and calls her master. Two of Lu's women stretch his cheeks and demand to know who she is, and he swears he has never met her. Lu kindly warns the girl that this place is dangerous and she should run home. The crowned knight lowers her eyes at him and says the trial begins. A shirtless fighter covered in red tattoos admits defeat and says he cannot win. He folds his arms and warns that his immortal sect has stood for 100 years and will keep hunting. The crowd behind them argues over whether a cultivation sect can be real outside of novels. The tattooed man kicks off the rooftop tiles and launches himself away over the city. Lu wipes the sweat off his cheek and thinks the guy is finally gone. Every onlooker drops into a bow and begs him to take them on as disciples. Lu asks if they are sure about that since they know nothing about him at all. They insist. A man who beats the immortal sect must outrank it, and his post online woke their spirit power. Lu grins to himself. Anyone who awakened in under an hour will be useful later, so he accepts. He rummages around inside his coat for a moment. He floats above the crowd and holds up a magic weapon he built, the Little Spirit Engine, to pass techniques through. Two disciples press glowing golden tablets to their chests and thank their new master. A disciple in a black suit asks what their sect is even called. Lu turns his back on them and stalls with a very long Then he strikes a pose and names it the 10,000 Souls Sect. Far away on Longyin Mountain, an old man in white robes stands among the cliffs. The head of the hidden sect sits up in the clouds with her eyes closed. A pair of bare feet touch down on the water and push ripples across it. The sect head keeps her face turned away while a voice greets her from behind. The tattooed fighter kneels on the surface of the water and pays his respects. Her purple eyes open and she asks whether the Longcheng matter got settled. He admits Lu beat him down in that city and asks her to read his memories of the fight. She wants to know what cultivation level a man like that could possibly hold. The fighter says Lu sits above the immortalization realm, probably in merging form like her. Her foot stops on the water. She repeats merging form and doubts one city holds anyone that strong. She rises to full height in flowing pink robes while the clouds tear past her. Sweat pours down his face as he swears Lu said it himself. She waves a hand, tells him she understands, and sends him away. The fighter presses a fist into his palm and salutes. He looks back once at the small figure left standing alone on the clouds. The sect head hides a smile behind her fingers. She clasps her hands and decides that a man at that level is someone she can work with. Her cheeks go pink as she sinks bare into the water, sure he is her way past the tribulation. Xiaoyu, the Thunder Cultivator, floats inside a ring of talismans and swears to guard Lu. She tells the church envoy that nobody is getting past her tonight. The envoy watches with gold eyes and calls the whole refusal heresy. Xiaoyu shrugs the threat off, and the talismans flare brighter around her. The envoy grants that Xiaoyu is strong, then says her own level sits far above it. Xiaoyu smiles sideways and tells her she completely missed the point about realms. Her eyes glow red over a jade pendant as she says cultivators live to break limits. Lightning rips out of her hands in the flashing heavenly thunder shock. The envoy throws one arm forward and a white saint beam splits the dark. Thunder and beam collide, and sparks scatter across the whole sky. Xiaoyu strains against the push, laughing through her teeth. A second blade floats up beside the envoy's black glove. Yu, the formation master, spots it and warns that a second sword is out. The blade rips forward, faster than anything before it. Yu lifts one finger and starts her cloud formation. Golden pillars punch up out of empty air, 1,000 of them. Xiaoyu holds her ground on the beam, with lightning crawling over her. Yu drops onto a pillar beside her, hands already moving. She spreads both arms wide and drives the formation from the center. Golden blocks slam down and stack into a wall. The blocks lock into the 1,000-space barricade array and swallow the hit. Cracks spread through the gold wall anyway, and the sword is only warming up. Yu clicks her tongue and raises the finger again. The pillars burst apart as the sword saws straight through them. She screams at Xiaoyu to be careful while gold fragments fly everywhere. The blade catches Yu across the body and blood sprays into the debris. Lu, our guy, cannot believe the barricade array still let her formation shatter. The blast throws Xiaoyu down through a column of white light. Xiaoyu hits the ground and pulls Yu into her arms. Yu smiles up at her elder sister and tells her not to worry. Xiaoyu raises a flying snow talisman and calls it to heal the wound. A bare foot steps closer while the two of them sit in the open. A blue blade drops point down into the grass right beside that foot. The envoy tells Lu he would be wise not to walk one step further. Lu asks her straight if she knows the price of hurting his people. She demands the orc artifact and orders him to come back for trial. Lu grins and says he was never the kind of master who takes orders. He pulls a pill from his guichu sack, a forbidden drug he swore off. It glows orange between his fingers, tagged as a banned unique item. Lu drops the pill on his tongue and swallows it whole. His left eye burns cyan from the inside out. Pressure tears off him in a red and white blur. The envoy's gold eyes snap wide at what she is watching. She says this aura is pressing into the Pope's own domain. Lu stands wrapped in cyan fire, black robes whipping around him. He tells the sky he has finally re-entered the earth and immortal realm, and the envoy has no idea what just walked back into the fight. Azure, the saint hunting them, stares with one eye blown wide. What she sees is a black shape with two burning eyes. She admits out loud that this guy now stands level with a saint class. Sweat runs down her cheek while her body refuses to move at all. Lu steps in close and plants a boot right beside her bare feet. He lifts a small green gourd and calls the little knight rash. Then he hurls that gourd at her head and shouts, "Take this!" The liquid bursts across her crown and soaks her whole face. Her gloves fly up to her mouth once she tastes what hit her. The orange eye snaps open. She finally recognizes the stuff. White outlines are all that is left where the three of them stood. Over in Aid City, the rooftops sit quiet under the night sky. A ring of golden fire burns itself into a wooden floor. His escape art, ubiquitous roam, drops all three into a room. Lu stands there grinning while his sister Yu clings to his arm. Xiaoyu, his own teacher, shoves his face and tells him to let go. Lu scratches his cheek, completely lost about what he did wrong. Yu asks him quietly whether they just lost that whole fight. Another shove comes in, and Xiaoyu tells him to unhand her already. Lu can accept Xiaoyu being angry, but his own sister too? Xiaoyu asks why he dragged them off if his realm is really back. Lu laughs and tells them the whole realm thing was bogus. Even Xiaoyu fell for that bluff, and she wants to know how. He names the trick. A false bravado pill did all the work. Yu Yu asks about the liquid he showered Azure with afterwards. Yuzuo, their poison master, brewed it to kill tracking for 10 hours. Xiaoyu says their two nascent soul realms should beat Azure together. She insists that both of them already stand at a very high realm. Lu tells her the answer sits far beyond raw realm levels. Azure's weapons are the part that does not add up for him. The weapons line confuses Xiaoyu, so she asks about them again. Yu Yu kneels on the bed and asks Xiaoyu to check her back wound. Xiaoyu apologizes because her own carelessness got Yu Yu cut. Lu brings up his sect formation, the concealed blade spine. Xiaoyu knows that one, since it stops attacks from below the earthen immortal realm. Only Yu Yu and the sect master ever mastered it, which made her famous. None of that explains the saint's weapon, and Xiaoyu says so. The formation travels with its owner, so Yu Yu always wears one. Lu checks with his sister, who confirms she wore it in the clash. Xiaoyu spots the hole in that because the sword cut Yu Yu anyway. Yu Yu gets there first and starts saying the answer out loud. Lu names it. Power of laws lets you ignore the formation's rules. Xiaoyu argues that this world runs on completely different principles. He agrees the worlds differ, yet rules can be borrowed here too. Yu Yu asks her brother what those two swords actually do. Lu's eye narrows behind his hair while he works through it. Azure can swing both blades at once, yet she attacks in tandem. The first sword comes down no matter how the opening goes. The second one follows and blood sprays off Xiaoyu. One clash gave him enough to break down a saint's entire style. Xiaoyu admits the power of rules is an ugly thing to fight. Lu says he could pin Azure down if he stood at their realm. Neither girl is quite there, so he cuts them out of the plan. 10 hours of cover is all he gets, and he sounds happy about it. Lu turns serious and tells them how he plans to spend it. He is breaking through to the nascent soul realm before the clock dies. The little knight stands in the dark grass and asks the envoy if she is hurt. The envoy spits since a mouthful of the vanishing water went down her throat. Her skin fades under the black glove until her collarbone turns clear. She lifts her head, and the little knight watches that fade climb higher. Her whole head vanishes under the crown while she calls the humiliation unbearable. The girl tears up, sure her master ignores her because she failed her duty. The envoy stretches one hand forward, feeling around for her servant. She pats empty air and praises the knight, who kneels a meter to the left. The envoy says they will sweep the scene again before the Holy See report. The knight answers with a shaky Roger and no clue what went wrong. The envoy marches straight into a tree trunk, and the girl screams for her. Drinking a potion made for the skin hits harder, so now she cannot see a thing. On the other side of the region, a quiet house sits under the moon. Inside, Xiaoyu warns Lu that 10 hours is nothing, even for him. Lu admits no lucky treasures are lying around, so nascent soul looks impossible. He turns to Yu Yu and asks if her new form is more than decoration. Yu Yu says ascension turned her into a succubus who lives on female energy. Xiaoyu asks why a succubus is not feeding on men instead. Yu Yu hugs her brother's arm and giggles that she would never betray him. She says small sips keep her fine, and the ability carries the name siphonage. Lu blurts that he has met that exact ability up close before. Xiaoyu charges with both fists, demanding what those two did behind her back. The room settles, and Lu picks up his explanation from the start. A pink lump now sits on his head while he brings up a certain old sect. He names the love-making sect, and two robed women grin over their latest catch. Xiaoyu and Yu Yu shout the name of that sect right back at him. Their hydrocosuction steals cultivation in bed, and they tally victims on skin. Xiaoyu sniffs that a technique this lowly is not worth naming. Lu grants that the parasitic version transfers power with brutal efficiency. The siphonage of a succubus runs both ways and leaves the partner refreshed. Lu plans to feel siphonage himself and take its mechanism apart. Our guy folds his arms under the label of famous immortal scholar. He promises to return everything borrowed and starts naming the skill. Lu throws both hands up and calls it pearl diving. Xiaoyu repeats the name with a blank face and pink cheeks. The skill borrows a cultivation base through close contact, then hands it back. Yu Yu leans in and whispers what those intimate actions actually involve. Xiaoyu turns scarlet and cannot finish a single word. Her scream rips across the night sky, and Lu still has 10 hours to burn. Xiaoyu explodes at the pearl diving plan and calls Lu a filthy scoundrel. Yu Yu grins and says Xiao Yu has spent every single year buried in cultivation. Xiao Yu bites her lip while Yu Yu keeps calling her a pure young girl. Yu Yu steps forward in her black heel because the enemy ahead leaves nobody time to stall. Her fingers slide onto the dark robe as she lays out her real offer. Yu Yu says the pearl diving practice belongs to Lu and her alone. Then she invites Xiao Yu to guard the two of them and enjoy the view. Yu Yu taps her own collar with a plop, proud of that generous deal. Her eyes stay shut in a sweet smile while Xiao Yu freezes with a blank stare. Xiao Yu's jaw drops as Yu Yu mocks her for playing the elegant beauty. The two square up and Yu Yu asks if she wants another private duel. Xiao Yu snaps back and demands to know who exactly is afraid here. Yu Yu smiles wider and asks how she got so skilled at shameful things. Xiao Yu stalls on one word while thunder cracks across the wall behind her. She coughs once and claims her mansion simply holds books on the subject. A chibi Xiao Yu hides behind a fat manual from a dual cultivation series. Yu Yu covers her mouth and asks who Xiao Yu has been practicing with. Xiao Yu screams that nothing of the kind was ever possible. She pokes her own chin and insists she naturally never did that. Yu Yu's purple eye fills the frame, asking if the practice was solo. Xiao Yu hides behind both fists and swears she skipped that part too. Her red eye blows wide open as she yells at everyone to hold on. Xiao Yu points straight at Yu Yu and asks if she has done this before. Yu Yu answers with a bright yes and zero shame on her face. Lu and Xiao Yu both scream while lightning splits the background. Yu Yu cups her cheeks and repeats that she practiced it on her own. Chibi Xiao Yu turns pale and starts guessing what that actually means. Yu Yu confirms the whole thing with a cheerful "that is right." Xiao Yu shuts her eyes and curses Yu Yu out loud. Yu Yu asks whether she also wants control over who appears in those thoughts. Sparks jump between the two chibis, and Lu wonders if he should feel happy or scared. Xiao Yu plants her feet and swears by the heavens that this technique happens today. Yu Yu folds her arms and notes that the scoundrel yelling lasted about a minute. Xiao Yu barks that nobody here needs to worry about her. Yu Yu offers to step back, then brings up first come first served. She promises to win Lu over without yielding and leave a turn for later. Xiao Yu's eye burns as she admits she wants to be his first too. The two of them shout together that the matter was never open for debate. Lu raises one small hand and offers the obvious fix. All three of them at once, and now he waits to find out which answer kills him. Both women shout in your dreams and drive their fists into Lu's cheeks. Lu lands face down on the boards between them with a heavy boom. He raises his head and starts to say, "That is not what he meant." A hand slides the red heel off Xiao Yu's black stocking. Yu Yu pulls the black heel off her own bare foot without a word. Both heels crash onto his skull while they repeat the words, "Trinal cultivation." Barefoot on his back, the two give him one chance to speak. A soul pins his head down while he pitches the breakthrough that beats the little knight. Both of them lean closer and tell him to go on. He explains that dual cultivating with a single partner is the real problem. Lu's face fills the panel as he warns about a more pressing issue. Xiao Yu and Yu Yu blink and ask what pressing issue he means. The bare foot lets go, and Lu props himself back up on the floorboards. He brushes the dust off his sleeves like nothing happened at all. One eye fills the frame while he claims two innate constitution skills. A science sword burns across his back for the innate sword constitution. A yin and yang wheel spins on his chest for the primordial origin Tao embryo. Xiao Yu listens to how sword geniuses are born with that first one. Yu Yu hears that the second one could pass its owner off as any sect leader. Lu waves a hand and says both were fine before Foundation establishment. Once he reached that stage, he admits the pair turned overbearing. Xiao Yu's red eye narrows and she asks what overbearing is supposed to mean. An ink figure splits down the middle, two powers holding separate regions. If he dual cultivates with one partner, the borrowed base feeds only one side. Blood sprays behind him while he says his body explodes and he dies. Lightning cracks behind the two women and both of them freeze. Xiao Yu admits no elixir fixes a body that bursts like that. Yu Yu agrees since an overnight breakthrough defies the natural order. Lu beams and tells them he knew they could reason it out. Xiao Yu brings the talk back and says high risk pays high returns. Lu crosses his arms and calls that reading correct. He says everyone here is a genius at the Tao, then pauses. Grinning wide, he tells them his nascent soul is on another level. Xiao Yu's arm swings through and sends him flying with one loud oof. She rages about the world's strongest constitutions while Yu holds her back. Lu peels himself off the floor with blood running from his nose. He tells them people at the top should understand these truths. Light bursts around him as he swears to the heavens he only wants the enemy beaten. His eyes go flat and he insists he is not lusting after their beauty. Xiao Yu's next swing catches him mid-word and folds him sideways. He disappears into a dust cloud while the two call him a damn fool. The women sit down on the bed edge and ask what should be done now. Xiao Yu snaps that nobody here wants to watch that fool's body burst. Yu murmurs that the whole excuse is completely unnecessary. Xiao Yu fires back that nobody else alive can do it. Her eye goes wet as she asks what minding would even be worth. Yu turns when Xiao Yu says her full name out loud. Xiao Yu's fists clench on her lap while she admits she talked big. Her whole face goes red, and she confesses she understands none of it. Yu covers her mouth and chuckles at her anyway. She admits she could tell that from the very beginning. Xiao Yu throws her head back and howls in pure embarrassment. A hand settles on her hair and pats her through the wailing. Yu calls trinal cultivation just practice and offers to work hard together. Xiao Yu stays red to the ears and answers nothing at all. Lu drags himself upright and worries his realm might drop after this beating. A voice calls him an idiot, and his eyebrow climbs up. His eye snaps wide at the sight waiting for him on the bed. The two sit tangled together and ask what he is staring at because trinal cultivation starts now. The moon hangs over the sect, and downstairs a very strange night is starting. Lu unfolds a white silk sheet called Genial Jade, a treasure woven for dual cultivation. He tells Yu and Xiao Yu that lying on it makes their trinal session convert far better. Yu pulls out two matching Genial Jade pillows and waves them above her head. Lu finally learns why Master Zhu handed him a sheet with no pillows attached. Xiao Yu only stares because she never understood why these products get sold separately. Lu then drags in a folding screen named Pleasant Times, built to block sound. He raises a finger and explains that the neighbors should not be disturbed tonight. Xiao Yu turns red and asks how loud he expects this whole thing to get. Yu leans in and asks her brother how he knows the love-making sect so well. Lu starts sweating while she lists the techniques and the tools he owns. He grabs the screen and swears it was sold openly in a treasure chamber years ago. Yu reminds him the sect library stocks those books, and he snaps that she read them too. Lu ends the whole argument with one very loud shout. Xiao Yu, burning red, demands to know whether he wants to cultivate or not. Lu folds his arms and goes quiet with pink spreading over his face. He yells it back at her because he wants this more than anyone in the room. The house stands quiet under the moon while the three of them get to work. Yu and Xiao Yu blush at a small, glowing figure floating between them. Yu calls it her brother's Yang spirit body and thinks it looks adorable. The tiny green Lu glows in the dark and gawks at his own new shape. The spirit body starts vibrating, and the light around it stretches wider. Xiao Yu covers her mouth and whispers that he has grown. Xiao Yu stares with her jaw open because the growing refuses to stop. Yu giggles that her brother's talent is what she loves and fears. The spirit body says out loud how good it feels to drop the pure Yang limit. A glowing hand reaches upward while he calls that feeling liberation. Lu turns to the two of them and asks which one comes first. Xiao Yu hides half her face and volunteers in the smallest voice possible. A hand locks around her wrist because Lu refuses to waste any time. Yu watches her fly past and asks him to slow down a little. Moonlight falls through the screen while the bed gets extremely busy. Half an hour later, Xiao Yu is out cold, and Yu begs for a short rest. Lu refuses her since his cultivation base is nowhere near enough yet. Yu gets pulled back in before she can even finish complaining. An hour later, the house still sits quiet under that same moon. Yu asks her brother whether he wants to take a break now. His hand closes over hers again because time is running out on him. Yu gulps and sweats as she works out that no break is coming. Lu announces he has to break through this realm tonight, whatever it costs. Morning arrives, and the two of them sleep tangled together in the bed. Lu stands dressed by the door and says nothing at all. He walks out of the room and leaves both of them sleeping. Sunlight fills the street below as he heads off alone. He checks his hand and grumbles that two borrowed nascent souls only bought him the Golden Core realm. Lu lowers that hand and decides 3 realms behind the little knight is enough. A huge golden gate blazes ahead of him with red marks cut across it. Lu looks up at the building and says the pursuit is finally ending. Yu and Xiaoyu lean out the window, one calling him brother, one calling him an idiot. He smiles back and promises sweet cake for breakfast once this is over. Down the street, the little knight waits, so Lu suggests taking the fight elsewhere. The little knight lifts her yellow eyes under the golden crown and accepts. Lu snaps his fingers and 4 glowing swords rise up around him. He tells her calmly that he will see her in heaven. The knight smashes through the building behind him with one charge. She rides the rubble upward in total silence, twin swords trailing her. The knight dives at him again and the whole street blurs behind her. Lu watches her come without turning his head an inch. He names himself the master of the Muxian sect while the swords burn beside him. Then he raises one hand and demands her sword, and this duel starts on his terms. Back at the sect, 2 girls hang over a window ledge in nothing but white towels. Xiaoyu squeezes her own cheeks and asks whether that fool is really going to win. Yu answers without blinking, one flat of course. She presses her cheek in close and adds that it is brother after all. Then Yu brings up last night when her sister turned very assertive. The dignified temple master went completely unrestrained, and anyone would kill for brother's spot. Xiaoyu goes red and begs her to quit the bullying. Then she turns serious. Borrowed cultivation only got Lu to golden core, 3 realms under the knight. Yu shrugs it off. The knight carries a sword, and brother never loses a fight over one. Xiaoyu admits it out loud, not even once. Before ascending, Master Zhu called him the strongest sword cultivator alive. No exceptions. The Shushan sect master learned her own sword straight from his tutoring. He was born with an innate sword constitution, and 99 immortal swords wait in Kunlun. How could brother possibly lose to anybody? That question ends the argument. Up in the sky, the papal knight is bent double, breathing in ragged huffs. Lu hovers above her with glowing blades spread out and mocks her saint martial arts. Her suit is shredded, and she asks him straight out who he even is. A mere grandmaster class should never be able to smother her saint art. Her eyes go wide as she demands to know how he took her sword. Lu repeats her own pattern back at her. Miss the first strike, and the second always lands. She panics since she only fired it twice in front of him. He laughs that the counter is easy, you just let the first sword scratch some skin. Then he asks whether she has ever heard of the innate sword constitution. The knight stumbles over the words and repeats them straight back at him. Pale wisps curl off the blade while he explains he was born to speak to swords. She echoes that word, speak, with one golden eye locked on his face. The cross sword belongs to him now, and it still speaks highly of her. She goes quiet in the dark, a bead of sweat running down her cheek. His glove wraps around her bare arm while she mutters that no such thing exists. Lu smiles and tells her to stop dragging the talk out just to stall him. His glove clamps her wrist and pins that hand exactly where it was. The knight admits out loud that he saw right through her. He tells her to keep going, since nobody here is forcing her to quit. Lu wants to watch the coming of God skill a high-ranking papal knight can pull off. She warns him that he will regret this, and he answers that he will not. His grin gets wider because he has been waiting for this all along. She prays as Azure, loyal servant, and asks for a dissension in the name of the Pope. Her eyes flood with hard gold light, and the pupils vanish completely. She calls out that every eye is now on this city. Her eye burns into a golden ring as the Son of God comes down in person. A white pillar of light tears out of the clouds and swallows everything. Lu's own eyes shrink to points inside the glare. The sky is gone. A huge white hall stands around him with sketched staircases. Chandeliers hang over empty balconies, and he asks what domain he got dragged into. Then his eye catches on one spot and he stops moving. A white-robed figure stands in the dark, holding a cross sword loosely. The robe hangs off a woman built far larger than any person in that hall. Her bare feet settle on the floor without a sound. A ring of light burns behind her head, and Lu barely reaches her waist. So this is the one they call the Son of God. Then Lu reads her level and freezes, peak of the earthen immortal realm. Not long ago, before any of this, the sky over the sect sat clear and quiet. A bottle tips, and the ever-spring immortal potion pours out, thick and pink. Yu, the assistant sect master, coats both palms and sets her jaw. She rubs the gel between her fingers until it webs across her hands. Then she climbs onto the bed and works it into the demon master's back. Yu Yu hums an answer when her name comes from the pillow below. The demon master sinks into the sheets and calls the whole thing satisfying. Yu Yu takes the credit, sect potion, plus her personal massage technique. The ache came from Xiaoyu, a sect sister who got carried away last night. Yu Yu declares the back finished and orders her to turn over. A hand clenches in the bedsheets as the massage turns pushy. The demon master hugs her towel and asks if this side matters too. Yu Yu dives in anyway, and the demon master yelps into the mattress. Outside, black clouds split open and lightning rips down through them. Yu Yu raises her head and every trace of play drops off her face. The demon master stops smiling and stares up without blinking. Both of them lean out the window while wind batters the wooden hall. The demon master says that energy was wrong and came from above the clouds. Yu Yu agrees that Flash carried far too much weight for a storm. The demon master tears up and asks if Lu, their sect master, will hold out. Far off, a white marble hall takes a hit and its pillars boom. A cyan blade slams an unseen wall and sparks burst off the contact. Cracks race across that barrier and chunks of it break loose. The frame shatters and the pieces spray out into the dark. Lu swings out of the dust cloud with a cyan sword in his fist. He lands breathing hard and blood drips off his chin. Lu plants the blade and clicks his tongue through a red-streaked face. One gray eye watches from behind the blood in his hair. Around him the floor is littered with magic tools, all of them broken. Talismans and blade fragments cover the cracked stone. Above the wreckage, a glowing woman floats inside a ring of light. She calls him a mere mortal and asks how he dares swing at a god. Blood slides past Lu's eye, while every treasure he brought lies wasted. She drifts down into the hall, and Lu drops to one knee on the marble. A bare white foot comes at his face, and Lu's eye snaps wide. The god tells him to kiss her instep and swear service, then live. His pupil shrinks to a point while nothing else about him shifts. Then Lu grins and a first quiet laugh gets out of him. Lu tips his head back, mouth wide open, blood on his jaw. He straightens up and notes that foot licking clearly amuses her. Then Lu invites the god to his bed tonight so he can teach her a thing. She calls him senseless and says she spared him for his fine endowments. Her eye fills the frame as she orders him to sign on as her knight. Lu goes silent because one of those words just snagged on him. Years back, a woman under a straw hat crouched down and named him. Little Lu heard her call his talent incredible while he stood there blank. She said enlightenment poured off his head, a born cultivation genius. The kid answered with a long silence and two very flat eyes. She introduced herself as Lu Shi, master of the Muxian sect. A bright hello came with her wave, and the kid just squinted back. Her grip closed on his sleeve as she swore she was not lying. Then she held up a recruitment poster with a gorgeous portrait of herself. The kid raised a blade and lined the drawing up against the real thing. She pinched his cheek and blamed art revising for the gap. They walked past a mountain with a temple cut into the rock face. He ate tangaloo on a stick, the patriarch's usual 2-cent treat. The kid trailed after her and asked what cultivation actually cultivates. Lu Shi said it settles the body and mind and feeds the spirit. He chewed on that and matched it to the meditation talk next door. Lu Shi smiled at his answer without correcting a single word. Her hand came down and stroked the white streak in his hair. She looked at him with soft eyes and started on the shape of the world. Up north lies a snowfield where all 4 seasons stay winter and dark. A snow nation lives there in clear bodies that sunlight turns to mist. Out east, the sea drops into an abyss no light array can reach. Wasteland beasts crawl out under war banners while nations fight for the top. The demon race has kept to itself for 1,000 generations. In the spirit world, glowing butterflies drift over red lilies. Strange peoples live inside grotto heavens nobody has ever mapped. Meteors fall on paths no one predicts, over sites nobody has found. Lu Shi spread her arms and said one lifetime cannot cover all of it. She laughed under the hat brim and asked if that sounded awesome. The kid shouted that it was cool with his whole face lit up. Then she asked what he would think if immortal gods built every bit of it. He asked if that was a lie, since gods could not be that grand. Lu Shi laughed hard and told him the answer was pretty good. Her hair swung loose while she said she puts no faith in gods. Sparrows settled on her, and she said if the gods really are that big, a sparrow lifted off her hand as she promised to match them anyway. She sat on a giant sword hilt and weighed the gods against nothing. If they turned out empty, she said, killing them off was her own job. Behind her stood an armored idol with blades driven through its chest. Back in the hall, Lu grants that a golden core is the small fish here. Then he says cultivators exist to defy heaven and kill gods anyway. He raises one finger and counts his golden core sword chi first. Second comes the sword intent he kept from being an earthen immortal. Lu points up at the god and asks if that sounds far-fetched. His eye locks onto her and he tells her to take his sword. Two fingers snap up with white ki tearing off the tips. Lu, our main guy, points across the white void at the woman towering over him. Her eye opens wide in close-up, tracking every move he makes. Thin cracks of light run through the iris as it starts to fade. The pupil sharpens and locks on, brighter than before. She smiles down at him and asks who this mortal actually is. Lu catches it. No projection anymore. The deity herself moved in. His mouth is all we see when he tells her not to change her name or surname. Then he drops the punchline. He is her father. Her eyes stay shut, and she answers with one flat humph. A line of gold light splits her face open right down the middle. The split widens, and her mouth curls up while she burns away. Her whole body cracks apart, and she promises they will meet face to face. Her profile drifts sideways and breaks into sparks. Lu snaps his fingers in the empty air where she stood. His boots turn on the cracked floor, and he starts walking off. Behind him, the marble pillars split, and the whole hall comes down. Lu strolls through the collapse like the rubble is somebody else's problem. A giant glowing figure comes apart above him while he walks out untouched. Clouds roll over a bright sky with birds scattering across it. A wooden pavilion sits on a hill with pine trees behind it. An elf on the balcony stares upward and stops halfway through a sentence. Sunlight pours down a green gorge far away. A girl bathing in the spring lifts her head with a confused bio. A stone palace with domes and a horse statue stands under the clouds. A young girl outside it half whispers the word master. A tall cottage with a shingle roof sits beneath the same sky. Two girls lean over a railing in white wraps staring up together. The heavenly teacher mutters about that idiot's sword. Beside her, the demon girl adds that the blade copies earthen immortal ki. Inside, the demon girl cheers that brother really is amazing and gets a scoff. The heavenly teacher sniffs that nobody wants to see him anyway. The demon girl waves her arms and sings a filthy little folk song. The heavenly teacher insists one fight is nothing special, then trails off. The demon girl swaps into a black dress and keeps the song going. The heavenly teacher admits that fight had to have hurt him badly. The demon girl sits on the bed and works on her ribbon, still humming. The heavenly teacher decides picking him up would not mean anything anyway. The demon girl threatens to head out first, and the answer is a flat begone. Only her legs and tail show as she scrambles off the mattress. She peeks back over the edge with one wide purple eye. The demon girl crouches beside the sheets and waits for an answer. The heavenly teacher caves and tells her to go collect him already. Then she remembers she has to change first. Clothes, clothes. The heavenly teacher panics and shouts, asking where her clothes went. Her eye goes huge as she works out what happened. She screams for Lu's sister at the top of her lungs. She reaches into a dark portal and blames his sister for the whole setup. Two hands haul a fold of gold fabric out with a loud hey. She holds up a classic golden daopao from the heavenly teacher's mansion. Then she sees it. Only the outer robe made it into storage. A while earlier, a hand catches a leg in mid-air with a hard pluck. Lu hangs in the sky holding a girl upside down by her ankle. He lets out a tired sigh with the wind pulling at his hair. Green treetops sway under a bright sky below them. The girl leans against a trunk, gold markings glowing on her arm. She looks up at him and asks why, like she knows exactly who he is. A sword tip comes to a stop right in front of her face. Lu levels the blade at her and waits, and she has nowhere left to run. Lu, our sect master, drives his sword into the grass and waits. He keeps his eyes shut and tells her that she should go. Azure, the Pope's knight, blushes and says she wanted to judge him. Lu answers that with a small smile and nothing else. He says playing the cold, iron-fisted judge must be exhausting work. His mouth barely moves as he sets up one more guess about her. Azure stiffens when he asks if she has never taken a life. He grins and mentions a friend who screams about killing, then faints at the sight of blood. Lu brings up her duel with Xiaoyu and Yuyu, the two women of his sect. Her second sword could have wrecked Yuyu, yet it only grazed her back. Azure listens to that with no answer ready. Lu reminds her that he already said this once. Her own sword, he says, told him plenty about her. The gold eye widens while he keeps talking. The blade passed her secret straight into his hands. Azure hugs her arms tight as he calls her unwilling to serve. A robed figure in a tall mitre waits inside a dark hall. Gold eyes under that crown lock onto someone below. A tower blows apart in one huge orange fireball. The girl she was sent to judge walks out of the wrecked gate alive. She cannot work out why the knight would level a building then free her. The knight even orders her to change her name and never come back. Her friends ask whether this Holy Sea knight is quietly on their side. In another house, a woman leans over a man and calls him her beloved. She sits on the floorboards beside him while he wakes up. Her fingers run over the row of stitches across his throat. He asks if she reattached his head, and she says he taught her how. The necromancer works it out fast. A Pope's knight could have erased them both. His wife insists the Lord Knight simply chose not to kill him. He asks why she would want the two of them to slip away. He wiped out a whole family, but only the ones who abused his wife. Proving that is easy with the methods the Holy See has. Proof would never save them either, and his eye snaps wide. He mutters that she freed them with no approval, and his wife asks what is wrong. Those white robes belong to the Pope's knight Azure, and the Holy See made her. The cathedral rings with her name on the day they present her. Azure stands under the mitre, far younger than anyone expected. Shadowed clerics whisper that a child of the Son of God breaks every precedent. One gold eye stays flat while they call her lucky. A red grin opens in the dark behind her. A hand lands on her shoulder and steers her toward the Pope. They call her a plaything, meant to welcome the newest knight. Golden rings pin her in the air while they test her saint arts. Two clerics read the sheet and call the girl a prodigy. The grins in the dark say to send her straight up to the Pope. She kneels on the bloody tiles, small and completely alone. She says she never wanted to serve as a Pope's knight. What she wanted was her village and her parents. Black robes drag the 5-year-old away for her rare talent. Two golden swords float beside the youngest knight the Holy See ever made. Back under the tree, Lu asks why she does not just walk away. The gold eye shifts, and Azure says nothing for a moment. She asks whether he really does not fear the Son of God. Lu brings up her last coming of God, and she explains the trick. Killing that projection tore his imprint off her body for good. Lu grins and asks what she plans to do from now. Azure admits, in one small line, that she has no idea. She asks what he means, and he says hand over the saint arts. Her gold eye stares at his open palm for a long beat. She passes the little golden sword over, and he takes it. Lu snaps his fingers, and a teal spark swallows it. Azure thanks him, barely above a whisper. His eye narrows as he pushes the question one more time. She lost the duel and the saint arts along with it. She takes a breath and gets exactly one word out. Azure lights up. She can finally go home and farm. Lu walks back into town with both hands in his pockets. A girl down the street throws her arms up and screams, "Brother!" Yu, his sect sister, slams into his chest and calls him amazing. She squeezes until he wheezes that he cannot breathe. Xiaoyu hides behind a wall, so Lu asks why she is lurking there. Her eye pops wide the second he says her name out loud. Xiaoyu stammers a welcome back from under her yellow hat. Lu takes the whole reunion with a completely dead face. The three of them end up in a small wooden room. Yu and Xiaoyu sit on that bed, with Lu between them. Yu clears her throat to break the deadlock. She asks her brother what happened to that night. Lu mumbles that he sent her off to farm. Xiaoyu blinks at him from under the hat. He claims his peerless swordsmanship handed her a pastoral life. Then he offers to return the cultivation bases he owes them. Xiaoyu turns scarlet and says that has to wait until evening. Yu tells him to hand hers over right now instead. Xiaoyu caves at once and decides she can do it too. A hand clamps down on him and the whole room tips. Two black boots leave the floor entirely. A full day and night passes under an open sky. One eye slides open in the aftermath. The three of them lie stacked in bed, Lu wearing her hat. He decides the Taoist robe on Xiaoyu is dangerously good. Lu stretches out his arms and rolls his shoulders. His palm tells him the cultivation base already went back. A red eye snaps open behind him and locks on his back. Lu goes very still and hears a wait. Hold on, Xiaoyu says her cultivation base was supposed to return. Instead, she is stuck down at Foundation Establishment. Yu grabs the sheet and reports the exact same problem. Both of them turn on him and ask how this happened. Lu peeks over his shoulder with one guilty syllable. He sweats his way through a very long They wail that two nascent soul bases died to a single sword. Lu insists he was up against a peak earthen immortal. He throws both arms up and asks how he could have won that. The two of them go completely blank and quiet. Lu promises to break through and give the bases back. Yu points out he never had cultivation bases to return. Xiaoyu asks why he cultivated with them for a full day and night. Lu shrinks down to half his size and stalls. He points out that neither of them ever told him to stop. They pile on him while he screams for help, and he still owes 2 cultivation bases. 2 pairs of boots grind over the stone floor of an unnamed cavern. Deeper in the dark, a huge mouth full of white teeth growls back at them. Jace, a sword hero, stares up at a legendary class lava giant dragon. He grins and says a legendary rating is not half bad at all. Jace loves ranking up on monsters, so he pulls the runed blade off his back. Next to him, a small support mage opens her spellbook and starts an incantation. Blessing Magic 3 pours golden light across the cavern floor. Jace lights up with a triple buff and cheerfully thanks her for it. He drops the sword tip low and says he wants a proper look. Jace shouts that he wants to know whose flame burns fiercest. He charges the beast head-on with lava dragging off the edge of his sword. Explosive fire slash tears the dragon open, and the quest flashes complete. His bestiary page carries the same creature, stamped extremely dangerous with insufficient data. Jace crushes the scroll in his fist and calls the matter settled. The hero declares himself the most dashing and unconquerable man walking. He throws an arm at the horizon and names Aid City as their next stop. The support mage face plants into the dirt while he talks about looting the land first. Jace marches off promising himself the treasures and beauties of that city. Chibi Lu announces that the long-awaited treasure appraisal is finally here. Xiaoyu and the demon girl lean in while he calls up everything they hauled home. First out are the Saint Art's absolute heavenly balance blades with 2 sword spirits inside. The demon girl covers her mouth and says that pair holds the power of rules. Lu tells her not to forget who she is looking at, 10 terms running as treasure-examining king. Xiaoyu asks what on earth he did to make a knight hand over swords like those. Lu says his peerless swordsmanship made her forget mortal disputes and go farm. Xiaoyu pictures that swordsmanship, and it is Chibi Lu waving a glowing blade at 2 screaming girls. She decks him across the head and calls him wretched. Lu holds his cheek and wonders if the swordsmanship line offended her. He explains the blade still carries the imprint of the Son of God, so it goes into his space tool until their realms are higher. Lu lifts the next prize, a crystal shard ringed in rainbow light. Xiaoyu leans over the table and asks what the thing even is. He reminds them he beheaded a peak earthen immortal, then admits it was only a projection. The shard, he says, is a broken piece of that projection and nothing more. The demon girl inspects it and confirms real power still sits inside the fragment. Lu grins that his sword was too ruthless, so only this scrap survived the strike. He brags the cut was clean enough that his enemy never got to leave backup measures. Both women ask how anyone is supposed to use a passive power vessel. Lu muses that if the thing were humanoid enough, maybe they could. The shard cracks open with a hard Kong and floods the room with white light. His eye goes wide and he asks what the hell he is looking at. A veiled woman in white stands in the glow, and her robes rustle as she moves. Xiaoyu and Yu stare at the pale puppet in white and ask what all of this is about. Lu panics and wonders out loud whether the thing is sound-activated. All 3 of them end up poking and fondling the poor puppet at once. Lu reports that the body has no color, yet it carries a full set of internal organs. Xiaoyu leans in and asks what he is trying to say with that. Lu turns his shoulder and answers that the meaning should be obvious. The puppet's hand slips loose and drops with a soft plop. He tugs the white dress and says the pearl diving technique works on this thing. Xiaoyu shrieks. You cannot even finish her first word. Lu argues that no method they know converts a cultivation base faster than diving. Then he points at the puppet and tells the 2 of them to get started. Both girls go completely blank and answer with a long row of dots. Xiaoyu and Yu lean over the puppet while a white bouquet sits between them. Their faces flush deep red and their mouths stay perfectly flat. Xiaoyu asks how that could possibly work, and You says she could never do it. Nobody answers. And you lifts a hand to hide her red cheek. Xiao Yu rounds on Yu and asks if she is mad enough to do that with a total stranger. Lu asks why they are this worked up when the goal is only a bigger cultivation base. He adds that the thing is not a person and counts as a puppet at most. Xiao Yu calls the whole idea impossible and tells him to go diving by himself. Lu reaches out and offers to collect the base and transfer it over to them. Xiao Yu grabs him mid-pitch, and Lu yelps about his waist. She tells him to dive alone, then get lost and stop dirtying her eyes. Lightning crackles behind Lu while he stands there sweating. He picks up her crowd comment and teases Xiao Yu about her surprising new hobby. Her eyes spin into spirals, and Yu snorts right next to her. Xiao Yu screams that she meant he should book his own hotel, 5 gold coins a night. Lu crouches beside the puppet in the rented room and says nothing. He estimates that a consecration realm cultivation base still sits inside her. 2 nascent soul bases already filled his body, and he only reached golden core. This sliver would nudge his foundation establishment up a little, which beats nothing. Lu shrugs it off because a sliver of a cultivation base is still a base. The pity is that nobody agreed to perform, so he gets no show out of it. He pulls the black top over his head and drops the hood. The robe lands in a heap on the wooden floor. A hand clamps down over the puppet's head. Lu grins and calls pearl diving far too inconvenient for this job. His eye burns teal because the target is already dead. He uses engulfing instead, a remnant from the Guichu sack that only works below golden core. The puppet's eye snaps wide open with a heavy thump. Her face goes slack against the white cloth. Blood sprays out of Lu's mouth in one hard cough. Red streaks soak into the front of her dress. He clamps a palm over his lips and swears that he broke. Lu's own realm cracked and his eyes go wide. He drops into a lotus seat while teal fire wraps around him. A short while later, the room sits quiet under the window light. Lu pants hard with blood still on his chin. He only broke to the consecration state, otherwise his body would have burst. The transfer rate of engulfing beats the pearl diving technique by a clear margin. Lu wonders why a puppet holding an affinity converts this well, and admits he passed Xiao Yu and Yu. The innkeeper protests that guests are still boarding here. A hero brushes her off and claims his room's searching privileges. The door bangs open and 2 figures fill the light. Lu stands shirtless in the middle of the floor. The puppet lies stretched out with her eyes shut. Blood is still spread across the white fabric. The hero stares at him and cannot get a word out. He demands to know what Lu did to the Son of God, and his companion stares from behind him. Lu stands shirtless in the middle of the floor while the hero charges in behind him. The puppet lies stretched on the bed with her eyes shut and her hair spread wide. Blood is smeared across the white cloth on her thigh. The hero can barely form a word, then screams about what happened to the Son of God. He grips his sword hilt, and his companion in glasses hangs back at his shoulder. Lu keeps a blank face while his head panics about the trouble he just landed in. He asks for another minute, and his internal lying meter climbs past 60%. He covers his mouth and coughs once to buy the last few seconds. The meter hits full, he beams, and he politely asks the guests to state who they are. The red-haired one calls himself Jace, a registered hero exercising plundering rights. Jace presses him about the body on the bed, and Lu cuts him off by yelling about plundering. Lu offers good things to present to the lords and starts digging through his belongings. Lu announces a gift for the Lord Hero while Jace keeps a stiff face. Out comes a black statue of a little man with one finger raised, sold as a priceless antique. Lu shoves it closer and praises the carving while Jace squints at the thick black thing. Jace and his companion both fall silent and stare at the figurine. A spark lights up inside the statue right at its crotch. The companion catches the spray full in the face and shrieks through her glasses. Jace takes the same load, and white liquid drips off his chin. The broken fake lies on the floorboards packed with a gunpowder engine and flour concentrate. Only an outline is left where Lu stood, and Jace yells, asking where he went. Outside, one voice curses the escape and the other insists on washing up first. Nothing remains in the rented room except a bare table and a locked chest. Lu drops back home in a flash of gold with the bloodied puppet standing beside him. He doubles over and gasps for air while sweat runs down his cheek. Xiao Yu teases him for being winded after less than an hour outside. Then her red eye goes wide and locks onto the thing behind him. The puppet waits there in its white veil with the whole front soaked red. Lu waves both hands and insists the blood on that dress is his own. Yu Yu covers her mouth and asks whether her brother is empty enough to spit blood. Her purple eye softens as she admits a full day and night was pushing him too hard. Bare legs lie tangled across the sheets from that same night. Lu erupts and asks why nobody called a stop instead of chasing cultivation bases. Xiao Yu knocks him flying for daring to bring the bases up again. He wipes his lip and swears the blood came from his own breakthrough. He raises his voice once more because the real problem still has not been said. Xiao Yu tilts her head and asks him what the matter actually is. Xiao Yu repeats it back, that someone caught him working on the puppet and named it the Son of God. Yu Yu suggests they simply leave no witness behind. Lu tells Yu Yu to hold on, since that man's realm is high and his identity makes them vulnerable. His eye narrows as he explains the intruder is a registered hero. Xiao Yu asks what a registered hero is, and Yu Yu calls the timing inconvenient. Yu Yu explains those heroes carry divine weapons and privileges that make them hard to kill. Lu admits their own realms are too low for this to be anything but critical. Xiao Yu wails at him and points out the entire mess is his fault. Lu decides the only move left is to disguise all of them for now. Xiao Yu asks whether he means the mirror flower water moon technique. Yu Yu warns that their weak realms would leave casting traces and expose everyone. Lu hums to himself with both eyes closed. Then his eye snaps open because he has the answer. A black tie sparkles over a white blouse. Xiao Yu stands in a full maid outfit with a frilled headdress and says nothing at all. A buckled collar shimmers under Yu Yu's chin. Yu Yu poses in her own maid uniform and greets him sweetly. Lu's gray eye stares straight ahead without a single blink. Xiao Yu snaps at him for gawking, while Yu purrs a greeting at her master. Lu sticks a fake white mustache on his face and throws up a proud thumbs up. Xiao Yu leans in furious and asks if this is what he calls embracing tradition. Lu grins under the mustache and says the whole plan was Yu Yu's idea. Not long ago, Yu Yu pitched a merchant traveling with 2 maidservants as ordinary cover. She said they could handle the servant get-up themselves by keeping the maid's code of conduct. Xiao Yu asked what that code of conduct actually covers. Yu Yu opened her mouth and dragged the answer out slowly. She declared, it means unconditional obedience to every word the master says. Back in the present, Yu Yu reminds Xiao Yu what the two of them are now. A heart floats in her purple eye as she calls them servants who cannot disrespect their master. She presses a finger to her lip and asks the master whether that is not so. Lu scratches his head, laughs, and agrees that Yu makes a lot of sense. Xiao Yu turns red to the ears, gives up, and calls him master, and now he has 2 maids sworn to obey every word.